What's up, everybody? It's Saturday night. Are you ready for the Saturday night live stream? I hope you are. And we have a good show for you tonight. I'm still sorting out I'm still changing things on the way my setup is. So give me 1 second. Hopefully everything's working the way it should be. Okay, it says we're live. Let me go see if I can find us and see if we're live. And then we'll get going here. And anyways, we're waiting for people to come and show up. All right. So there's one person there. Stephanie Wilson. Hello, Stephanie. Well, actually, it says there's 61 people here. It's just that was the first commenter. And more people are showing up. All right, so now that we're going, I think we're going. All right, so now that we're going, let me tell you about tonight's guests. I have two guests tonight. One is Gareth and one is Devon Bennett. And let's see who's up first. Now, I haven't even met these guests yet, so... Uh-oh. Hold on 1 second. All right, I don't know if you guys could hear that or not, but my alarm went off in my house, and somehow the alarm was turned on, and usually we don't turn that on until we go to bed. And so I had to go shut that off. Anyways, all right, so our first guest is Gareth. So let me pull up my notes. He's waiting there. He is there. And let me tell you about him. Gareth has had multiple spiritually transformative experiences, basically too many to list. So I just kind of put something simple like that. Many spiritually transformative experiences. So I just thought we'd just get into all of it. And let's bring him in. Gareth?
Jeff, hello, how are you?
Great, how are you? Welcome.
Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you, likewise. Yes, it's so interesting. I love it how I just don't, and you don't, I'm sure you're not aware of what I used to do in the old days, but it used to be the Saturday night was like just random people could show up and be guests, and it got too crazy and I couldn't control it, so I had to kind of shut that down. But in a way, it's a little bit like that right now because I'm just meeting you for the first time with the audience, so it's really cool.
Yep.
Where are you from, by the way?
I'm in Ireland.
Ireland. Oh, cool.
Dublin originally, yeah, but I live just outside of Dublin.
Oh, awesome. I was trying to place your accent. It took me, I wouldn't have guessed that at first. And I've only had a couple Irish guests, surprisingly. A lot of British and Australians, but maybe you're probably like my third Irish. So we need a lot more. We need a lot more.
Yeah.
All right, let me pull up my notes with you. I was just telling everybody that you've had a ton of spiritually transformative experiences and paranormal experiences, and basically it was too many to list. Because I kind of like to try to, I
wrote a book on it.
Yeah, basically, and so I just try to like introduce a guest quickly, but
sure.
I guess we should start from the beginning. And that was in 2005. You first discovered meditation and experienced Satori, which I don't even know what that is. So let's go from there.
Yeah. So basically, it had been a lifetime of not being happy. I wasn't fulfilled in life, and
why were you so unhappy?
I just found that I just didn't fit in. I felt like I was an outsider from being a very young child. I just felt something isn't right here. I don't feel like I belong. No matter what I do, no matter how many friends I'd have, or I always just felt like an outsider. And it was around 2005. I had met a girl. We were going on vacation, and I was bored on the plane. And she handed me a book, a very, very simple book by a woman called Louise Hay, and it was You Can Heal Your Life. And I was reluctant to read it. I was like, this is hocus pocus. But I read it anyway. I started reading it on the plane, and I was blown away by the concepts and ideas that this woman was putting across. Like, we choose our parents, and we can heal ourselves, and the law of attraction came in as well, right? So all of a sudden there was I could do affirmations to change my reality. I could start healing the inner child, and I started doing all of these exercises, and within a matter of weeks I started to notice my life was changing for the better. Okay, I was getting more confidence in myself. I was starting to attract abundance into my life
It's great.
in all sorts of ways. Yeah,
And what was the name of
and
that book
and she,
again?
it was called "You Can Heal Your Life." Very,
All right.
very famous book.
Cool.
And she gave me a CD to meditate with, and I went home, put it on, closed my eyes, and it was a guided meditation. And all of a sudden, the voice disappears, I disappear. I was just pure consciousness floating in a void. And I was like, oh, something recognized what was happening. It was obviously the mind that had recognized, and it came back in. And it was like, oh, this is different. And I kind of just sat there for a while, and I was just consciousness without me, without my personality, without the commentary constantly going. And that was a taste. That was like a glimpse of pure consciousness. So I was like, okay, I want to get back there as much as I can, but I found it difficult. That was just like a beginner's luck, right?
Hmm.
So I started having a meditation practice, and struggled quite a bit. The mind was very busy, but just kept it up. And part of part of what this journey was it was me then, okay, going, there's something to this. Let's go and manifest the life that I want. So I did. I started doing all the exercises. I wanted to have a business. I wanted to have a house, and all of them things started to turn up. And I was like, there's something to this, right? I was a complete non-believer, not religious. Um, and I was like, wow, there is a power. There's something in the universe that is answering my call, right? Answering my prayers somehow through this power of my mind. But then after a while, I I had the business, I had my house, and I got content, and I kind of ran out of steam with the self-help stuff and the manifestation. And it was around 2009, 2010. I came across a book. Um, I think it was Dr. Brian Wise. It was Many Lives, Many Masters.
Hmm.
And he was regressing people into lives, past lives and lives in between lives. And I always had a fear of dying. And I was like, wow, wouldn't that be great, to have an experience where you know that you exist when the body dies.
Yes.
But I kind of got frustrated with that as well, right? I was reading all these books, I was reading people's experiences, and then I came across YouTube was kind of coming out at this time, a little bit later, a little bit the YouTube videos, and I came across a gentleman called Bob Monroe. And Bob Monroe had wrote a whole series of books on out of body phenomena. And I was like, oh my, it was the first time I'd heard of it. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. I bought all the books I could on it, and I started practicing and practicing. I was like, I want to have one of these experiences. If I have one of these experiences, that I don't die, if the body dies. And surely enough, about 3 months later, I woke up one evening and I had vibrations running up and down my body. And I kind of knew what this was, right? Because I'd been reading the books, and I was like, oh, this is it. This is what they've been talking about. and the vibrations started to build up, and they started to make this kind of a jet engine whirling noise in my ears. And then it kind of got to a crescendo, and then all of a sudden I felt two hands reach in, kind of grab me under my arms and pull me out of my body
Hmm.
and catapult me through the ceiling, through the roof of the house, and I started flying,
Are you
flying
s-
across the
are,
field.
are you saying with
Yeah,
two hands pulling it out of your body that some entity did this?
some entity. Yeah,
What was it,
yeah.
or who was it?
I don't know. I never found out.
Hmm.
It was just, but I felt that like the hands, right? And so obviously I needed help, right? The first time, and something came in to give me a hand, right? Um, I eventually came down in a field. I stood in the field and I kind of looked, and my hands looked like my hands. And I kind of looked around. I was like, I did it. I'm out of my body. And I got really excited. And then all of a sudden, an elastic, it felt like a big rubber band pulled me back. I snapped, jumped up, sat up in my bed, and I was like, wow, I did it. I don't die. You know, and I knew from that moment on, it was like, if my body dies, something in me lives on.
Did you turn around and see your body laying there while you were out?
I, I did afterwards. I not on that particular time, but afterwards I did. So what happened was that it started just happening every night of the week. I started waking up with these vibrations and discovered that I could separate from the body. I would just kind of lie there while the vibrations would come up and down in my body, and I would slowly start to roll with my mind, and I would spin out and just fall off the side of the bed. Sometimes I would fall through the ceiling. Sometimes I would find myself at the end, and I could see my body in the bed. I could see, yeah.
Would you say this was purely due to just reading his books?
Um, there was a will. I had gotten this into my mind that
Well,
I
and
had to have this
so
experience.
that reading the books plus intent,
Yes,
but there wasn't.
like
You weren't
burning.
listening to the binaural beats tapes or anything else.
Actually, I was, but they weren't working for me. I had gotten the Gateway. I had bought all the CDs and I was listening to them, but had no success with them. What started to work for me was affirmations. I was continuously saying affirmations. I now go out of body. I now go out of body. Going to bed at night time, I was repeating these as I was falling asleep, and eventually something just triggered in my subconscious where it happened. It
Hmm,
just the
that's
vibration
awesome.
started.
That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
So after you started
So
doing this, did you start leaving the house and traveling the
yes,
astral world?
yes, yeah. Not so much the astral world, but you would think that you would have all these great ideas, right, when you get out of the body that you're going to do. I mean, for the first couple of months, it was just like, oh, take me here to this, or take me to my parents' house. And I seen all sorts of things. Like one one evening I rolled out and I fell through the floor and I ended up in my sitting room, and there was two teenage girls sat on my sitting room floor with cushions on their laps, sitting in pajamas, having a conversation with each other. I thought, whoa, what's this about? Right. And two of them then turned and looked at me, and they got scared of me, and they screamed and ran through the wall. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. And
Hmm.
I moved over to where I had a mirror over my fireplace, and I looked in the mirror, and I could see myself as completely translucent, like as if I was made of liquid. I could actually see through myself in the reflection. So yeah, lots of amazing things happened. I traveled to different places. And then
One
what
second.
started
Well,
to happen
before
was,
you,
go
I
ahead.
want to clear
Yeah,
something up. Now, you said that they
sure.
went through the wall. So does that
Yeah,
mean they were other out of body experiencers or
they were
ghosts
dead.
hanging around
They
in
were
your
dead.
house?
Yes, they were dead.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. When
What
you
do
get
you,
out of body,
people are
go
everywhere.
ahead.
What do you think they're doing out there? And why aren't they going to the light or going to wherever?
So So what I discovered was that when you get into this out of body state, it doesn't feel that different from your normal so if you from what I can imagine is if you have an accident or you die or you're in a hospital bed, all of a sudden something shifts. You separate from your physical body, but you have a separate astral body that feels the exact same, right? You can actually move around, you can touch things, but what will happen is your hand will actually pass through like a wall if you push against it. So I think what happens is a lot of them don't actually know that they're dead.
Hmm. It's kind of like that movie Ghost, like at the beginning when he got out of his body, he couldn't touch anything physical.
Yeah. Yeah, they're everywhere. So I would get out and I would kind of move around the streets and fly, and I would see just beings walking around, and
Like just
yeah,
tons of them everywhere.
yeah, lots of them.
Do they generally seem confused, or do they, are
Yes,
they most of them
yes,
seem confused, like they died and just didn't realize it's yet? It's interesting that
yeah.
you say
So
that. Sorry to interrupt you. It's interesting that you say that because
no problem.
I had a near death experiencer not too long ago that was struck by lightning. Actually, a couple of them, and both of them were kind of the same way. They like one minute they're in their body and 1 minute they're out, and
Yeah,
one of them, the woman, didn't even know she was out of her body. She had no idea until she realized people weren't they were ignoring her. And another
yes,
guy, the same thing. He was out of his body, and a woman walked right past him. And when he turned around, he saw his body laying on the ground and figured it out. Kind of the same thing with a woman.
yeah,
But there was
absolutely.
no. I think the shocking thing for him was there was no transition. It was just immediate. You were here and there, and there was like no difference.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And a little bit later, I started. I found that there was different ways of getting out of body. So I would have these what I would call classic OBEs. And then what I found was I could sit in meditation and actually phase with my intent into different realities, sort of like a disembodied piece of consciousness. And I could observe. So what I started doing was I found myself in these kind of in-between worlds where um there were like transitions for where people had died. There were like parks, very, very like uh, similar to what we're used to, sort of like waiting rooms, nice park benches, and this was like a place where people had died, and they sort of went there while they were transitioning to the next phase. And what I found was that I could actually go and find people who had died here on Earth and go and communicate with them and then take them to this place, like a
Hmm.
soul retrieval. Then I didn't do a lot of it, but a handful of times I did it. I went, I talked to people, I explained to them what had happened and would they like to come with me. And I had read about this as well, so it was something I was interested in doing. I was interested in becoming useful in these states.
All right. Well, let's get back to this from the beginning, and that it was. Um, what is Satori?
So it's a temporary state of enlightenment.
A temporary state of enlightenment, only temporary.
Yeah, it's like
And
it's
how
like
do
a
you?
flash.
All
It's
right.
like a
And how do
flash.
you achieve that state?
Usually it's just like it almost feels like it's a mistake, right? It was for me, it was like, oh, beginner's luck. It just happened. And
Now, this is
I know
happening.
now.
This is happening out of body or even in waking
No,
consciousness.
no, in waking consciousness. So
Okay.
so it can happen in your waking consciousness. It can happen in meditation. Um, yeah, I know now that it was like the breadcrumbs to get me interested in all of this. It was like, okay, give them a flashy experience because I wanted hard proof, right? I didn't want to read about it. I wanted my own direct experience. So
Hmm.
they gave me these flashy experiences early on because otherwise I would have never believed any of this stuff.
Hmm. Now, while you were out there, did you see any negative entities, troublemakers, beings causing problems, evil?
No, no,
None of that.
No, that's not to say that it doesn't exist, but I just didn't. I
Doesn't
didn't
even
come
Dr.
across anything.
Monroe, doesn't even Bob Monroe talk about that there are some nasty beings out there?
Yeah, but a lot of what Bob experienced in his books was actually just a projection of his own fear.
Hmm.
So his
That's
his own
interesting.
fear, yeah, manifested a lot of this negativity, these beings. So I didn't come across a lot of it. That's not to say that they don't exist, because it's like you go onto a subway, you're going to get all sorts of characters. It's the same in the astral world, right? There's good, there's bad, there's yeah.
Did you have any fear while you were doing this?
No, no. I
Because
I really enjoyed it.
I think the biggest blockage from being able to get out of your body is fear, isn't it?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
what do you
And
think's what's the best way to overcome that?
so they'll give you little steps, right? What'll happen is anybody can do this. Anybody can, you know, start practicing and kind of get to a place where they can get to the edge of it. And usually what will happen is you'll get into these vibrational states, and a lot of people will panic. They'll go, "Oh, I don't want to do this." And that's the larger consciousness system testing you and say,
Hmm.
and if there is fear, it doesn't want you going out there with fear, because you're going to get into all sorts of trouble if there's fear in your system.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All right, well, let's see here. I should have wrote down. I'm just kind of scanning through this stuff here. Later, you got into something called Shaktipat.
Okay. Well,
Or I don't know if I'm
yeah.
fast forwarding in your life too much, but I knew there was something else that you were up to. So
Okay. So after about 2 years, a year and a half of the out of body stuff, right, I eventually lost interest in it.
really,
Right. I just
just
it
got
just
boring.
yeah. I had a child, I had a business, and it just kind of phased out. And I wasn't a spiritual seeker, but I kept up my meditation practice. So I love meditating. In 2016. I got up one morning to go to the gym. I went into the gym, and I kind of got this weird sense that something was watching me, almost like the Truman Show. Kind of had this feeling of like, you know, I don't know, I feel like I'm being watched or being filmed. And I kind of stopped and I contemplated. I could hear music and clanking, and there was sunshine coming in through the window. And I stopped and I said to myself, I said, wow. I said, all of them things that I'm hearing and seeing, they're not outside of me. I said, they're actually inside of my consciousness. And as I said that to myself, what I describe as Velcro, this feeling of two pieces of Velcro being ripped inside my head happened. And all of a sudden, it was like as if a higher aspect of myself woke up, almost like a lucid dream, right? And during my OBEs, I had had lucid dreams where I became conscious in the dream and knew that I was dreaming, right? I had been,
Hmm.
um, yeah. So this experience was what felt to me like God had fallen asleep and dreamt itself into this character. And then all of a sudden, I had triggered it to wake up in itself by stating this, that everything I was seeing was inside of myself. There was a rip, and God started to look out through my eyes. And it was like looking at its hands, and it was like looking around. And then all of this supreme knowledge started to flood in. Like I was the walls, I was the other people, and it was became so blissful and intense. And I knew that I was outside, somehow outside of my reality, right? And I was dreaming myself into this character, and that everything up until this moment had been like a fabrication of my own mind. And I knew that I had woke up in this one, and then I started to look at the other people, and I was like, oh, I'm awake in this one now. I've just become lucid, but I'm the one in all of them, right? I'm dreaming myself into all of these characters, but I'm still sleeping in all of them. I'm still sleepwalking. They're still dreaming. And from that moment on, that was what I can only describe as like God realization. God woke up and realized itself through my form. but my nervous system couldn't maintain that sort of realization. So it closed down,
Mm.
and it left me in a state of permanent self-realization. So I knew myself as just pure awareness. I was different. It was like a spiritual awakening. And there was nothing that had prepared me for that. I had not, all the out of body stuff. I was still very much, there was an ego, there was an identity. And now all of a sudden, I couldn't find that. At the center of what I was just unbounded awareness. The identification with my ego had broken. And it felt like I was just free. It was like I felt amazing. Um, my ego wasn't bothering me anymore. My fear had just vanished. Psychological fear, right? Fear about the future, my business. It's just gone. I was
Mm.
living in this state of freedom from that moment on.
There was a question I
The
wanted
sh-
to ask you, but I didn't want to
yeah,
interrupt you. Just if we go back, just one last thing
yeah.
about your astral traveling, and then we'll come back here. But I don't want it to go too far away. Would you wake up exhausted in the morning after astral traveling all night
Um,
because you
no,
really weren't resting?
no.
No.
No, I didn't notice that. I didn't notice.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
There was
Then,
some excitement. There was some excitement, and sometimes you come back and you wouldn't be able to get back asleep
mm,
if you had quite a good journey.
right.
But yeah, generally no.
All right. I'll bring you back. We'll bring it back to here. So I would assume now that you would say that we all collectively are God.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
But
one
not only all of
consciousness
us,
having
but everything, the planet,
everything.
the walls, the grass.
Yeah,
God
yeah,
just
absolutely.
manifested itself into basically reality,
Yes.
physical reality,
To, yeah.
everything. I
And
guess
lost itself.
lost
Everything.
itself.
Absolutely everything is it. Lost itself in the game of remembering itself.
It's playing. Okay, so it's. Do you think God is stuck in the game?
Uh, as the individuals, we're definitely stuck. We definitely have to keep coming back,
Right.
um, until we can break free from it.
Okay. But what about God and collectively as God? I
It's
mean, I don't know
so
if
we're individual units
God
of
just
God.
decided to separate itself into trillions or
Yes,
quadrillions of
yes,
individual units. Will all of
yes.
us come back eventually as one, do you think?
I don't think so, right?
One
We can
consciousness.
have states. We can have states where we merge or we have a sense of unity with everything, but we still always keep our own sort of uh, slightly separate sense. It kind of has to be that way, right? We have to have our own sense of free will
Hmm.
in order to find God, right? We have that free will that we can move towards God, we can move towards love, or we can choose to go against it. So I think there's always a sort of a slight sense of separation.
All right. Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're now in this permanent realization. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, what happened was there was an awakening, and then I found out that there was a journey. There was a lot more to come. More awakenings started coming. As you suggested earlier on, I came across this tradition of Shaktipat, which is to do with the Kundalini energy. So my awareness had changed, my perception of the world had changed. But then all of a sudden, I discovered that there was an energy in our systems called Kundalini that needed to rise. And I read about Shaktipat, and I went and I found this teacher who could give Shaktipat, and it was like a transmission. And this transmission started my Kundalini moving, right? And the Kundalini started its journey over about 6 months, where it started rising up through my systems, clearing the chakras, bringing me into states of bliss. So what happened was my perception was changing, right? My view on how the world was, but my nervous system had to upgrade. And this Kundalini energy it was doing that. So it was rewiring everything, and it was bringing my body into having the experience of awakening or enlightenment. but there was multiple stages of awakening that unfolded.
I think some people have a complete awakening all at once, and it ends up being traumatic for them.
Yes,
Does
that can
that
happen.
sound reasonable to you?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you don't know what it is and it happens, right? It's like it can be, yeah, and you have all this energy moving around your system. I would say a lot of people who who end up in psych wards are having Kundalini awakenings, and they just
Hmm.
don't understand what it is, and professionals don't understand what it is.
Really, what kind of symptoms do you think someone would display in the
Oh, well,
midst
I
of that
mean, it can be,
awakening?
yeah, it can be intense, right? And then paranormal stuff can start happening as well, right? The third eye can open. You can start hearing voices, visions, energies moving around your system. So if you didn't know what it was, I can imagine that you might think you were losing your mind. Yeah.
Hmm. Wow. All right. So, you've had a lot of stuff happen to you already. I mean, you went from out of body, well, the meditation to out of body experience to God realization to Kundalini awakening. You're
Yeah.
almost a super being at this point, yeah?
Well,
It sounds funny, but I mean, you've
it's
had a lot. I mean,
yeah.
99% of of us out here have not had maybe just some relaxing meditation. That's about it.
Well, yeah, there was a lot more that unfolded. I was, yeah. So the Kundalini actually, I had a full Kundalini awakening where the Kundalini went all the way up into the brain, and the crown then started to open, almost like people talk about it, a bit like the lotus flower, and that's exactly how it started to feel. It felt like the crown was opening up, and eventually it felt like there was like the petals were coming down around the shoulders. I could feel them. And there was states of bliss, like I mean, crazy bliss, right? Bliss that I couldn't function. It was like I had won the spiritual lottery. Um, but I also discovered that I had had a series of past lives that were revealed to me. Um, if you'd like me to get into that as well, I can
I
I can
would.
talk a little bit.
At this point, after your Kundalini, can you talk a
Yeah,
little bit about who you were now as a person? Because we started at the beginning as you were unhappy with life, right?
yeah,
And that's like a
yeah.
you're the complete opposite person now. So what kind of, what were you like at that point in your life?
Yeah. So the unhappiness early on, it wasn't that I was depressed or anything, right? It was that
Hmm.
my soul was in what's known as dejection, right? W- it- Basically what our life purpose is, right? We come here to learn, right? We come in as low level units of awareness, right? Consciousness. And we start off and we have lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, and we evolve. And basically, what had happened was I had gone through multiple lifetimes. I had had spiritual lifetimes where I'd lived in India, and in this lifetime, I had realized that I wasn't going to find any satisfaction in the outside world. Not in a relationship, not in a car, not in my work. That what I really was longing for was reunion with the divine. So
Let me ask you this
yeah, go
before
ahead.
you go there. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what is your mission here or your purpose this
Well,
incarnation?
now it's to help people. It's to
Help
help
people.
them go through the awakening. That's what my work is now. So I work with people, helping them to go through the spiritual awakening process. And I actually work with the Kundalini energy as well. So I can actually the transmission that I received, I actually have the ability to give that now. So I do that. So I have a lot of people who turn up in I do Zoom groups, and they meditate with me, and I eventually became transmissive. So the state that I'm in when people come and meditate with me, they can actually get a little taster of that. And I can actually do that for your viewers this evening if they want. If I can do a demonstration where we could do a little
Yeah,
meditation.
I mean, well, I have about
Yeah, if you have
25 minutes.
time.
We have 25 minutes left. I don't know how
We could
long
do
it's
10
going.
minutes.
Okay,
We could do
if
10
everybody
minutes at the
wants
end.
to,
Yeah.
we'll ask the audience. Do you guys want to do that while we're waiting for them to answer? Did you
Yeah.
make this decision about your mission pre-birth?
So, yeah. So I was shown three past lives, and I had very, very similar states of consciousness, especially in my past life. I was living in an ashram in India, and I was told that when I was leaving that life, that I was coming to the West to help bring these energies to the West. A little bit after the past lives, I was shown where I reside when I'm not in a body. And I'm not a regular human. I don't, it's not, it's a different place. It's a blue reality, and I'm sort of like a blue being. Yeah,
Kind of
it
like
was a bit
Krishna.
different. Not so much like Krishna. I'm a big fan of Krishna, but it wasn't like that. It was like kind of an more abstract and like almost like an oil painting.
All right,
Very, yeah, just different. And
all right,
lots of stuff was explained to me there.
all right. Let's
Go ahead.
hold. Let's save that because I want to go
Yeah,
into this blue being business. But everybody wants to do the meditation, so
great,
we're
great. We'll
ready to
do
go.
it.
I
Yeah,
have to make this statement. I know that we're all adults here, and it should be completely understood. But I have to make this statement. If you are driving a car or operating
yeah,
heavy equipment or anything that could be potentially dangerous, please do not do the meditation. When you're in a safe place, come back and then do the meditation. Sound
yeah.
good?
And also just to add that the energy meets the person where they are, right? So it's not going to give anyone anything that they don't want. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to I'm going to. Are you ready to go? Because I'm going to turn off my camera and just let you lead it. I mean, I'm
sure.
here, but I just
Do you want to give me? Do you want to give me 10 minutes? So this is going
Yeah,
to be just done in
we got
silence,
10
right?
minutes.
In
Yeah.
silence.
Yeah, if you're just going to give us
Okay. So we're going to do it in
you're going to
silence.
do like a guided meditation, right?
No, no. They just close their eyes. Just close their eyes. Drop their awareness into their body, right? So don't have thoughts of what's happening, right? Don't be thinking about the experience. Drop into your body, right? Really perceive the body and feel what's happening in the body. Okay? And we can do
Okay.
10 minutes, totally in silence. Okay? And we'll start now. You let me know, Jeff, after 10 minutes.
Right?
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey. You're Irish. Have you heard that one before?
No, no.
When
It's not one we use.
I used to have friends and across the street from me, and their mother was Irish, and I think that's
Mm,
what she used to tell the children.
yeah, yeah.
Wakey,
I have
wakey.
lots of American friends, and they have all these Irish sayings that they use, but we don't actually use them
You
here.
don't. Well, I mean, she's from the motherland. I mean, she married an American guy and moved over here.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe yeah. There's different regions of Ireland that have different
yeah.
phrases like that.
Of course, yeah,
So we were talking about blue beings,
yeah.
and they weren't like Krishna. And some people talk about blue beings that there are ETs that are blue. Is it possible that have you had any ET involvement and anything
Well,
has
an
to do with
ET
that?
brought me to you. An
Really?
ET brought me to you.
When
Yeah,
was that? Who
honestly.
was that? I've been trying to,
So
I've been telling my audience I want an ET to come on the show. You're not an ET, are you?
no, no. Well, I tell you what happened. I last week I don't the ET thing doesn't happen for me, right? But last week I became aware of a man's face looking at me with a beard, and then all of a sudden it was like it was an alien in disguise, and the sky started to come down, and I could see this beautiful what looked like a female entity, alien with blue eyes. I
Mm-hmm.
went, isn't that interesting? And then all of a sudden, I have a Facebook group, and I looked, and I had a request to join my Facebook group, and I saw a woman. She said, "Oh, I heard about you um, from the Jeff Mara show." Right.
Mm,
And I was like, I've never been on the Jeff
yeah.
Mara show. So I Googled you, and then all of a sudden, the first thing I seen was, I think her name was it Vivian?
Vivian. Yeah, I created that artwork for her that she
And it was the
claims to be
same
an ET. So I
being that I
went,
seen.
yeah. Oh, really?
So they looked to the blue eyes, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And then that made me reach out.
Maybe you saw Vivian in her ET form. I think she says that she's Arcturian, which I think the Arcturians are blue.
Okay, okay,
Cool. Now
yeah,
you got to meet her then. That would be real interesting to get. We too bad we didn't know. We could have had you and her on at the same time. That would have been fascinating.
okay, yeah.
We may have to
I
do that for
guess, I
another
guess.
night, another Saturday night if
Oh
you'd
no, I
be up for it.
definitely come back. I definitely, absolutely, I loved it. Real great fun.
Mm.
How did your viewers? Was there any feedback coming through?
Yeah, I wasn't. Let's see. Nobody said anything. I guess everybody was meditating.
They're all still asleep.
Nobody. I don't even see any comments like people who had just popped in and said, "Hey, what's going on here?" There's just a guy meditating.
And Jeff, just to let you know that anyone who actually watches the replay, the transmission will be in. It stays.
Right.
It won't disappear. So it'll be still there for the viewers who watch the replay.
There was one comment that was something like Jeff just wanted a snack, so he let you do
Yeah, yeah. Perfect time.
it. All right. Well, I only have about a few minutes left with you. Like I said, I have about
Yeah.
a little less than an hourish with everybody. So what else? So where did you go after this? You after the Kundalini experience, didn't you? I thought there was somewhere in your bio somewhere that you became a Brahmin or something.
No, it's a state known as Brahman. So there was a whole series of different awakenings, right? There was almost like a journey, a path, a remembering back, and one of it was where consciousness becomes aware of itself before it became conscious. So there's outside of creation, there's a nothingness, like a void. And I
Okay.
had this shift where I was pulled into that void. And it was almost like when I came back, I just could see that everything was just this big illusion. All of
Hmm.
reality was just painted on this screen of nothingness.
Hmm.
And that was a very strange place to be. That lasted for about 2 years.
Many near-death experiencers go there. They go to this black
That's what it
void, which
felt
I felt
like.
like it's a place, just like you said, outside of creation. And
Yeah.
it's not. It's not. uncommon for people to say that this is a simulation that we live in. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. So it felt like when I just as I got to the edge of it, it was like, is it as if I was going to fall into an abyss, and it felt like a near death experience, right? And it's not just like you're going to die; it's like you're going to be deleted, right?
Deleted
Erased from the
interest.
system. Yeah,
But that's
there's
not
nothing
possible
like.
if we were
No, but that's
eternal
what it
beings.
feels like.
Oh, wow.
That's what it feels like. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's what that nothingness feels like. And it feels like a near-death experience. And when you come back, it sort of feels like nothing is real, right? Everything is just an illusion
Hmm.
or a virtual reality, a simulation. And you just see through it. You just see that everything is just a projection. And it's a strange place, right? Because all of a sudden then it's like, oh, I just, the seriousness of life is just gone. It's just like,
Okay, I want to
so
ask you,
that was a, yeah, go
I
ahead.
want to get in one last question here, and this is not debating
Yeah,
you, it's not poking fun. It's trying to be a
sure.
serious question. You've done a lot of stuff and you've advanced. Are you able to like manifest whatever you want? I mean, you're at this level where I would think that you should be able to have the most amazing life. Whatever you want, you can create it. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, but I don't see it as manifesting. It's unfolding as it is, right? And it is the work that I do. It's beautiful. I have the best. I couldn't ask for anything more. Um, I do meditations like this. I have a YouTube channel, and people turn up, and I run retreats, and I get to be around amazing people. So I have an incredible life. I don't want for anything,
Mm.
and my inner world feels really nice.
Cool.
But I don't set out to like manifest stuff for myself. I did all that early on. Um,
All right, that makes sense. Well, what is the name of your YouTube channel?
it's True Spiritual Awakening
True Spiritual
is the
Waking.
YouTube channel.
All right, what's
Yeah,
the name of your
yeah.
website?
It's truespiritualawakening.eu. And if your listeners, I do two free meditations just like that. They're an hour and 10 minutes long every Tuesday and Friday. You can see that on my website. And I also stream that to my YouTube channel so people can just join in if they like.
What
If
time are
they,
you doing that, especially since you're in Ireland?
so those are 9 p.m. UK time. So I guess that
Oh,
would be like
12. Wait, we
like
were at 7
12
hours
o'clock your
o'clock.
time.
7, 12, 1. I guess it depends on what time zone you're in.
Yeah.
I think for me in UK,
Yeah.
it's about a 7 hour difference.
Yeah,
Six,
it
seven
would be the
hours.
same. Yeah.
All right,
But I
cool.
mean, the majority of my group are from the United States. A lot of people.
Do you have anything else that you're working on that you want people to know about?
My
Your
book, I have an
book.
audio
Okay.
book, and,
What's
and
your
my
book
book is
called?
on Amazon. It's
All right.
it's
What's the
called
title
Waking
of
Up
it?
from the Dream.
Waking
Yeah,
Up from
Waking
the
Up from the
Dream.
Dream.
All right. I need
Yeah,
to, I will, thank you for telling me that. By the way,
appreciate
people
that.
left
Thank you
positive
for
comments about the meditation. They liked it.
good, good. I'm delighted.
Yeah. Well, before you leave us, can you give us one last positive message?
A positive message. That okay, so we will not find happiness on the outside, right? In materialistic things. We have to go inwards to find real lasting happiness. And that's our true nature. Our true nature is happiness. It's unbounded awareness, it's bliss, and we have it inside of us. It's already there. We're just looking in the wrong place.
That's a great message. Gareth, thank you for coming and hanging out with us today.
Jeff,
Let's talk. I'll have to talk to Vivian. I think it'll be an interesting show with the three of us. And now you believe that you communicated with her in some way, maybe not, maybe her on her other form, not here.
I
You
think it was
communicated
just
with the blue being.
I think it was just a larger consciousness system getting me in contact with you. I think that's what it was to get me here.
Well, I'm glad that you came.
Me too.
Thank you. It
I
was a
had a great
pleasure
time.
hanging out with you. It was a lot of fun, and I hope our paths cross again.
Anytime, anytime. Thanks for all your viewers as well for joining in. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Have a great rest of your evening.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Okay. Thanks so much. Bye bye. Take care. Bye.
Up. He's gone already. A big round of applause for Gareth. All right. That was Gareth. That was cool. So we are ready for our next guest. Oh, I need to say this real quick. I need to thank somebody. Thank Stephanie for the super thanks. Stephanie Wilson. Love the interesting dynamics regarding this guest. Thanks, Jeff and Mara. Thank you, Stephanie, for that super thanks, and thanks for letting us know that you like it. I'm glad to hear to read the feedback. All right, so the next guest is Devon Bennett. He is, let me see, do I have the right notes here? What notes did I put here? Maybe I can see down here in my thing. This will probably be better. Devon is a spiritual coach and guide who uses yoga, plant medicine, nutrition, and affirmations to help people unlock their hidden potential and regain their health and vitality. And the main thing I believe Devon is here to talk about is the law of attraction. So let's bring him in. See where he's at. Ah, there he comes. All of a sudden he was not in my box here. And I was like, what happened? But maybe it just took a minute for the system to bring him in. Devon, can you hear me?
I can.
All right, let me help you turn on your video so we can see you.
Thank you.
There you are.
I think I was just sitting there patiently with technology. Yeah, not connected to you there. Thank you for connecting.
Great to see. Now, what podcast did we do together, Devon?
I got to explain what I was taught, what an NDE taught me, and your death experience in 2009
Right. Do you remember
taught
what
me about
podcast?
evolution.
Do you remember what podcast number you were? I don't.
No, I don't
I
remember
should
the
have looked
number.
that up, but let me see if I can find it. But we were here, like you said, we talked about your NDE, and you've had some updates and stuff, I believe, since then. You were gonna kind of update us what's going on. Maybe we may even have you ever okay, why is this not popping up? How long ago was it? Do you remember?
I would say about 6 weeks would be my guess.
6 weeks ago?
Yeah, maybe I overshot it.
See. Let's see. Oh gosh, it is not popping up. Oh well, I don't want to keep everybody waiting on that. Give us like a 2-minute recap of your NDE for those who may not have witnessed
Okay,
that video.
I'm very sick and unhealthy and in low energy and suffering with a lot of addiction. I get myself in trouble repeatedly with the law, much like my father did. I end up on a prison floor being detoxed from methadone and
Right.
heroin, cocaine, and cigarettes. And they'd actually added a Valium for the last week, the first week that I was detoxing, and then took it away. From being in my body on the floor of a cell, vomiting, sick, detoxifying. I end up on the ceiling of the cell, looking down at myself, but without my eyes. So instead of seeing my physical body, seeing my energy body, realizing it's very sick, very close to death. My grandfathers come forward and tell me without words, because my ears are still in my body, that I got. So they show me a life review, and I'm without time for that time. So I also see the universe evolve from a single element to the current time, and then I realize I'm not the victim of my life. It's karma, was what happened. I didn't understand, and that the selfishness of my ego created negative karma, and that I needed to learn to quiet my mind and connect to my selfless soul, to generate a better life path and better karma. I was dropped back in my body, in a hospital, belly chained to a bed, very, very, very sick and very unhealthy, and went from feeling I was very successful, and cool because I was trafficking drugs and doing stupid things, to feeling like about the worst human in the world, chained to this bed and sick. So I went from this near-death experience to this ego death experience. Um, and it gave me some humility and taught me some lessons. And now I like to share these lessons with other people, because I found some really simple words to help people to understand their own inner monologue and differentiate between the voice of their often loud ego, compared to our quite quiet soul.
What about the mind chatter? Because I think we all have mind chatter that's constantly running in the background. How can we quiet that, especially
Yeah,
while
well,
meditating?
when we originally talked about this podcast, you asked me, like coming back, why the law of attraction doesn't work for people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a part of it has to do with the mind chatter.
Mm.
We have an inner monologue and it speaks in our own voice, but it uses opposing languages. Our ego always says me and my and I, and it's very selfish. It can be self-grandizing, I'm the coolest, or self-defeating, I'm the worst. The soul also speaks in our own voice, but it has opposing languages. Your soul says, when you drive by somebody broke down on the highway, we should pull over and help. Then the ego says, but I gotta pee. So we had this inner conflict for some people, where the ego and the soul are having chattering back and forth to each other, opposing stories and opposing languages. So I was without my egoic voice for a little bit of time, when I had my NDE, and I felt fully connected to my spirit. So now I try to yeah, help people to use the law of attraction, to create synchronicity and coincidence in their lives, by using yoga and meditation to help quiet the inner chatter.
I want to get a testimonial from you. How successful are you with the law of attraction, and what have you manifested?
I am on my path. I count synchronicities as I go along. I document and journal synchronicities in the back of my gratitude and my North Star journal. And I'm in a synchronistic flow often, where things are happening that are directly in alignment with the North Star dream that I write each day.
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to sail, synchronistically, and learned that sailing teaches some very valuable lessons. One is to chart your course. When we don't have a proper charted course, it's hard to identify synchronicity and coincidence. And it's hard to maintain boundaries when we don't know exactly where we're going. So I think making a North Star dream is very important, and reciting that North Star dream, because when the mind does learn to quiet, you then have a mantra, something that you can repeat. And I have synchronicity in alignment with what I've been writing. Um, yeah, incredible amounts. Yeah.
I think that's
I
pretty
have
interesting.
manifested. I live in a very comfortable home.
Yeah, that's
Um,
beautiful.
I get to travel many times a year, to Central America and to different places to hold ceremony and to teach yoga. So those are two things that I manifested in the physical third dimension.
Well, I never thought about it this way. And if you have a goal in life, if you have a course, like you said, if you've charted your course, then it's much easier when synchronicities are in alignment with your course to notice them, right?
Absolutely. And practicing gratitude daily, writing things we're grateful for. Because if things come in alignment with that too, we will notice them to be synchronistic, because the things that we're practicing gratitude for, if those coincidences will show up for us. Um, just like charting our dreams, charting our course, we will see things that are synchronistic to that, I believe.
So, what are some practical tips for people to employ to get the law of attraction to start working for them?
Well, the law of attraction is pitched very much as visualization in the movies and the book. And visualization is an incredible, important skill to practice. But not everyone's mind works like that. A lot of people work in words and in pictures and in different ways than visual. So for me, I believe I use affirmation. I use the power of the written and the spoken word. I like the Bible quote. I'm not religious, but I like the Bible quote. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And I think the thing that differentiates humans from the rest of the animal kingdom is our words. We can co-create like gods. We co-create so much. We create so much. We create a mess. We create garbage. But we're so creative as a species when the other animals in the kingdom, even though they have bigger brains than us and opposable thumbs, can't really even create tools, basic tools. So what's the difference between us and the rest of the kingdom? Well, it's these beautiful gifts we have of the word. So I believe writing, journaling is an incredible practice to help us use our words to kind of write the life that we want and deserve.
All right. Do you ever do, well, I guess it's a different subject. I don't want to go there. You prefer writing. Is that like just writing out your goals or writing what you want to do?
I teach a system. I believe that we're on our universe is evolving. I believe it started very basic and it's becoming more complex. I think it started as hydrogen, and hydrogen wants to split and divide and become more and more complex. Just like we did in our mom's belly, we were one cell and we had hydrogen, so we became more complex. And we're realizing now that the human brain can do something wild. It can affect hydrogen with its intention. It can change the molecular structure of hydrogen. It's the water crystal studies, Dr. Emoto's water crystal studies. Have you
Right.
seen them, Jeff?
I think I've seen some bodies where they maybe they played classical music and then they froze the
Yeah,
water and it's
absolutely.
beautiful
I don't know if we
crystals
did
and
screen share or not. We plan to do screen share, but
do
I
you,
have the book right here. I can
well,
put
you
the
can, maybe
book
you can
up.
just show us. Yes, there you go.
Yeah, so this book, The Hidden Message in Water, Dr.
Hmm.
Masaru Emoto does this really simple thing, and he first prays to water. He'll freeze it and look at it through a microscope, and then he will bless it or pray to it. He'll see afterwards that the water turns into like a snowflake-like crystal.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay, so he continues to do this study and like do these different things like play classical music to water. And the water changes vibration. And at the peak of his study, the most fractal, the most complex pattern. Now, keep in mind, we started as maybe entertain the idea that we started as hydrogen, the first element on the periodic table, and hydrogen wants to become more complex, so it became helium, and then beryllium, and then boron. Just like the sun is converting hydrogen to helium, the first element to the second element, the universe wants to become more complex. The most complex thing that Dr. Emoto could find when he prayed to the water, changed the water, was love and gratitude. When
Wow.
he put the words love and gratitude together, he made a fractal pattern, something incredibly complex. And so what that says to me is that when we figure out what we love and we practice gratitude, we are in our highest vibration at that point. So we're the most attractive. We're attracting people and situations when we're in that vibration that will help us to live this North Star dream that I set, this big dream, this chart that we this course that we chart. Now, the law of attraction, also, a lot of people will set very egoic goals of riches. Riches, like we are just a money-making machine. But a purpose. Purpose is actually what, at the end of life, people say gives them the most, yeah, good feelings,
Right.
not possession. Purpose over possession. So the North Star Dream allows us to take time each day in our journal to chart our course. And each day we practice gratitude, knowing that gratitude turns us into this more fractal, attractive pattern. And I believe if we can hold this pattern, we can quiet the mind chatter to some extent. It's been in my experience that if we hold this pattern, we attract people that are in like vibration and they want to help us because we're quite grateful. So this is yeah, this is why I think the law of attraction needs to be expanded a little bit past just visualization to vibration.
While you have the book there, do you have any pictures like when he would play rock music or he would curse the water or stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Can I share screen, Jeff?
Well,
You
it's
think
just
I have that
faster.
available?
It's faster if you just hold
Yeah,
up the
this
book.
way. Okay, got you. Okay, my favorite one, I was listening this in the morning for a long time, was Pulaski Swan Lake. Shoo, shoo, shoo.
Wow.
Um, this is let's see the difference, the rock music. This one on the left is it's Cleopatra's Dream, and this one is heavy metal music.
Yeah.
You see the difference, quite
Right.
dissonance compared to this beautiful fractal pattern.
Yeah.
Now we talked about last time that everything happens in a wave, light's a wave, sound's a wave, life's a wave.
Right.
And I think we can be up here in this high vibrational pattern, but if we really want to live our North Star dream, we want to make this, live our North Star dream, we need strength. Like to get to this big, beautiful goal, we got to be really strong and patient. So what the universe does in response is it challenges us. So when you pray for strength, you don't really get strength, you get like opportunities to be strong. You pray for patience, you don't really get patience, you get opportunities to be strong. So we will be knocked down out of these higher dimensions of coincidence, synchronicity, and miracle, down to accident. And if we hang on to accident, injury, and if we hang on injury, illness, these lower vibrational states as well, the lower part of the wave. But it is a wave. So if we have this journal, this North Star dream, and we're repeating it like a mantra, are you familiar with mantra, Jeff?
Yes.
Yeah. So in India, they wear mala beads and they chant mantra.
Mm-hmm.
These words chanted over and over and over again. And the vibrations of the words, as chanted for all these years, gain power. And we can use these mantra to clear obstacles or to attract love or to have compassion. They're a mantra for possession to material wealth. But I think we humans, especially if they're not the most best at visualization, should create a word mantra, a North Star dream, and repeat it. Repeat it pretty regularly to themselves and rewrite it pretty regularly to themselves. And I think what happens is it begins to reprogram our subconscious. Often when we're little and we're impressionable, somebody that we love or trust will say something flippant to us, like, "You're too tall, Jeff."
Right.
"You're too short, Jeff." "You're too loud, Jeff." "You're too quiet, Jeff." "You're too thin, skinny." "You're too fat." You see where I'm getting at?
Yes.
And then our brains will begin to repeat it when they're young and impressionable. And eventually it won't even be that other person's voice anymore. It'll be our own inner monologue. And what we've developed is a self-limiting belief. And what it does, it creates inner dissonance between the voice of our soul that says, "I'm here to dance," and the voice of our ego that says, "But someone said you look silly when you dance." So if we have these self-limiting beliefs running in the background, then if we create an affirmation that is the opposite of it and repeat it more times than we've repeated that negative thing about ourselves in our head, eventually we will believe the better affirmation that we've created. And at this point, it becomes much easier to hold that vibration of love and gratitude because we don't have this inner conflict, this inner dissonance.
That's a great explanation. No one's ever said that before. That a great way to
you.
kind of rewire your brain is just start as like a mantra, tell yourself over and over what you want to be.
Yeah, I believe one of the thing, my later part of my life that had become more effective, the one skill that I mastered that is not really wasn't hammered into me is repetition. Without the skill of repetition, all of the things that I do wouldn't have wouldn't bear fruit. It's the repetition of the mantra. It's the repetition of the yoga. It's the repetition of sitting uncomfortably and trying to quiet my mind in meditation. The repetition is what gives the power to it. And I think all that most people need is accountability. They just need somebody that they trust to ask them, "Are you meditating? Did you make it to your yoga mat?" And sometimes with just a little bit of accountability, people can make incredible levels of change in their life.
Now, earlier you quoted the Bible, Where are you at on your beliefs about God? How does God play
Um,
into all this?
yeah, I have probably a pretty shared and unique both beliefs around God. Um, so I believe the yin yang is physics. It's great science. The yin yang, we have the day and the night, right? The light and the dark. The yeah, we have this beautiful teachings about
Hmm.
life,
Duality.
and I think God's source is the yin yang.
It's
It's the
both the
masculine
yin
and the
and yang.
feminine. It's the light and the dark and the light. It's the middle path. And yeah, I think the personification of source as masculine is creating a lot of disharmony for the species. As we pray to yang, the energies of destructiveness, the masculine, and some forget about the yin, the mother,
Hmm.
the earth, and when we become a species that's a little hard on its mother. And I really think that source is both the yin and the yang. It's the earth and the sky, the mother and the father in equal proportions.
Hmm.
So I really, as I walk through the world at this point, always trying to make friends and find things I have in common. Um, I get triggered by the personification of God as a man.
Wow. You know,
So
I just recently had a guest. I think during his or her near-death experience, he experienced God both as a male and then again as a mother, female.
yeah. And like, yeah, I totally, the earth has birthed us and she's having us on a ride and she's feeding us and we're just looking up and saying, manifest riches or whatever the asking of it to the father energy is. It needs to come back into balance.
Right.
In yoga, we root down and rise up. We press into the earth as we plug into the sky. We find this balanced prayer with our spine that is equal between these two poles of the middle path, equal between the yin and the yang.
But
And
why do you let it trigger you?
because the earth's getting hot. It's getting different. I sell air conditioning in my day job,
Hmm.
heating and air conditioning. And air conditioning is becoming as primary to our job. Like people are getting air conditioners more where I live, and the surface is getting hot. It's seems to be changing. Yeah, in a unique way. So I have concerns that we might end up in the earth at some point. We might end up having our prayer flip upside down from the yang to the yin. And so I guess I wish everyone would jump on board with loving the Earth Mother and giving more, being environmentalists.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm
Cool.
wishing for a planet of environmentalists, and I don't feel that way. So that was the trigger.
All right. Let me see here. So, do you think it's becoming more difficult for people to use the law of attraction? Or do you think it's becoming easier to get,
I think it's becoming easier.
easier in general?
Yeah, I definitely, yeah, I think it's in Kundalini yoga we're taught about the Aquarian age. And it was the solstice or two ago. And this is a time I think when as quick as we have thoughts, sometimes they can unfold positive or negative. Um, instant karma, people call it. And I think yeah, everything seems to grow in the Fibonacci sequence, in the same sequence, starting as one splits into two becomes three becomes five. And I think our consciousness too started very basic and it's becoming more and more and having these big Fibonacci jumps. And I think our sensory perception has become, has taken a Fibonacci jump. If you think of a conch shell, each little, or a sea snail, each little space gets bigger as it
Hmm.
jumps. And I think we've taken one of these jumps in our consciousness. And I feel people are able to see things and then make it happen.
Do you think because of the movie and the book, The Secret, just that alone has made, people being aware of the law of attraction, made it easier for people to start manifesting? Because, prior to all that, I don't think that was really talked about that much.
I'd never thought about it, Jeff. But you're absolutely right. Like a ripple. It had
Right.
a huge ripple.
Kind of like the
Yeah.
movie The Matrix. Like ever since The Matrix came out, I think everybody's talking about we live in a simulation.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I struggle with the word simulation because it seems to be reflective to love. And the word simulation reminds me of like something very robotic or computeristic, but our existence is reflective to love, and gratitude.
Hmm. All right. So what are you working on now? What are you up to
Uh,
these days?
Today I just did a metaphysics fair in the town next over.
Where are you
My
from again?
partner and I,
Where are you from
pardon?
again? I forgot. Where are
I'm
you
from
from?
Nanaimo, Vancouver Island,
Oh,
Canada,
Canada. Okay, yeah. So there was a
and I went
metaphysics
to
fair there.
Parksville.
Cool.
Yeah, like the Beatles sang about the last train to Parksville, but the one in Canada.
What were you doing
At
there?
the Yeah, pardon?
I said, what were you doing at the metaphysical festival?
I gave a talk. The talk was called "What the Forest is Trying to Tell Us." The use of medicinal, functional, and psychedelic mushrooms for mental and physical wellness.
Mm-hmm.
So that was part of my day, and the rest of the day I maintained my table where we sell our products of medicinal mushrooms like a lion's mane mushroom,
Mm-hmm.
and also blended mushrooms, lion's mane mushrooms that mix with psychedelic mushrooms in microdoses. We make a cacao blend as well. We call it cacao water that has cacao that we brought from Guatemala. We bring from a woman's cooperative in Guatemala, all made with love, and we chop it up and add the mushrooms that we
Mm-hmm.
have to it. And we add things like turmeric and ground pepper and cayenne and Himalayan salt to make a morning beverage. We also have an evening one that helps people to get really healthy. So I'm really passionate about mushrooms. I forage for turkey tail mushrooms, and then grind them up and make tea for people because it's a powerful cancer fighter. And it also it's really good for our immune system and our gut health.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really passionate about mushrooms in my life. So at the table, I did a talk on mushrooms, and I got to distribute our mushroom products. We had great success today as well.
Right.
I
Did
booked
you?
somebody as well.
I'm
Sorry.
sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll ask you in a second here.
I booked somebody as well for a psychedelic trip sitting. I sit with people with plant medicine, magic mushrooms for both recreational and therapeutic uses. And I had somebody come to me today that had been investigating this and was quite happy that they had found somebody to sit with them to experience, yeah, the journey that is the magic mushroom psychedelic experience. So that made me, yeah, that really lit me up inside.
That's cool. Now, did we talk last time about you setting up a retreat center somewhere like in Guatemala or something?
So my manifestation for many years and my affirmation was to sail the world, singing, dancing, and performing, and to take people on boats to what I called an eco resort.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was invited synchronistically to a place in Guatemala called the Mystical Yoga Farm. And turns out they already had an eco resort, and they were just looking for people that were like minded, that wanted to make small investments to be part of the community for life. I took them up on the offer. What I was doing was crypto and some other stuff at that time, trading, and it was doing this and not bringing me any joy. So I divested from that. I invested with this little community, and I found my eco community that I have brought some people to and send people to. Well, there last time I met the founder, and he was starting another mystical conscious community in another part of Guatemala that's closer to the ocean, as my dream is to sail, and I love to sail. And he invited me to his first retreat, which was in April. and it was just exactly what I could see in my mind, with enough different that I had to have faith. And he has invited me back in August 11th to the 16th, and he's asked me to bring like-minded friends, people that are interested in practicing gratitude, people that are interested in conscious community, and that understand that life is reflective. What we bring to it is what we get back. And yeah, we just have a conscious community being built in Guatemala, Livingston, Guatemala. Jeff, do you want to come?
I
Can
would
you take
like
a week
to.
off?
I can't. I have a daily show that I barely make my daily show, and then I have kids in school, and I'm taking kids to school.
Okay.
I'm like,
I'm really proud of you. You're doing a
thank you,
great job with
thank
this
you, thank
podcast.
you. Besides that, I'm like a soccer dad. I'm a, you know, like I said, and I'm doing this full time, and it's like I'm always got something going on. It's
Yeah.
I actually was even invited, and I think I'm always invited, but was invited to go out to Sedona. There's someone that puts on, one of my guests puts on the retreats out there every 6 months, and she was like, come on down. And I just, maybe I maybe next time. Well, there's one coming up in September, but I think I may try to go to the next one in March. But I need to get there. I need to get to Mount Shasta. There's so many places I need to get to. I'd like to get over to Egypt, to the pyramids, maybe down there to Guatemala.
I'll tell you, synchronicity, the man that started the mystical yoga farm, Brother
Mhm.
V, that is now starting the worldwide conscious community,
Mhm.
lives in Mount Shasta.
Really?
Yeah, if you want to have tea with a Brother V, mystical Brother V, I'm sure he would love to spend time with you online, or if in person, if possible. He has been one of my great teachers in how to manifest and how to hold positive vibration. And he starts conscious communities. What a cool thing to do.
His name is Brother V?
Yeah, Vedantin, we call him. If you want to see him on YouTube, it's Mystical Tea with Brother V.
Mystical Tea with Brother V. All right, I'll put that down. Are you open for questions from the audience?
I love this.
All right, so if anybody wants to ask him a question, just when you ask the question here for Devon, put it in all caps, because that is easier for us to spot the question than just from regular things. You know, it's obviously it'll stick out.
So do I launch a little the chat screen, or
Well,
will it
no,
just come up?
I'll see the chat, and it's a little bit of a time delay, probably at least about a 30-second delay. And I forgot to do that for the last guest, but I usually try to let that let the audience get involved too, which makes it more fun.
I like this.
Yeah. So we will wait for some questions.
Can I tell a little bit about what we're doing next week?
Yes, of course.
We're holding a ceremony here on Vancouver Island. So if anyone's on Vancouver Island, we're going to be holding a ceremony here to celebrate the mushroom medicine and to celebrate community and circle. There'll be song and prayer and a really good time.
Cool.
So people in the island, reach out to me if you want to partake in ceremony.
What's the best way to reach out to you?
Probably my website is a good one. You can email me at microdose.nanaimo, or that's my website right there, microdosingmushrooms.nanaimo.com.
Oh, okay, there it is. Yeah, it took me a while to put
This is
that
the brain boost. It's psychedelic mushroom in microdoses mixed with lion's mane mushroom in bigger doses, which is a fantastic neuroregenesis product for neuroregenesis.
All right, let me get to my first question. What star planet are you from? Would you consider yourself a star seed?
I don't know much about it. Someone told me I was Arcturian because of the shape of my head recently.
All right. What is Arcturian? Okay.
Is that right, Arcturian?
I don't know, but that the name's correct.
Okay.
Can you experience great mindset of love just through meditation alone?
I think I like to say we hold our issues in our tissues. When we come up against discomfort, we kind of have two options. One is to meditate, sit in the discomfort and learn a lesson about ourselves. The other is to medicate over the discomfort with food or distraction or perversion, or yeah, however we medicate, shopping over the discomfort, and our body will store it for us somewhere. It will hold that discomfort for later. If it's around our hurt, it's around our heart. If it's around fear, it stores in our hips, our belly, abandonment, intolerance. So our body keeps the score. So if the body is holding discomfort through injury or tension, really good, comfortable meditation where we hold a vibration is hard, very hard. It's only for those that have very great control of the mind. It makes me think of Vipassana, the 10-day silent meditation where people just sit in discomfort and silence.
Wow. 10
So I think
days.
it's possible, but it takes someone of incredible strong mind or incredibly loose and flexible body, and body that is holding no tension or trauma.
What is your favorite type of meditation, or what type of practice do you recommend?
My practice starts with a moving meditation called Ashtanga Vinyasa. You start with the sun salutation A, you inhale, hands up, you exhale, forward, fold forward, you inhale, half lift, and it is inhale, exhale as you move, and then you hold in stillness. So this style of yoga is really good as a moving meditation. And when I'm done the moving meditation, my body is very well balanced and rang out tension. And then I do seated meditation at that point after the physical moving meditation of Ashtanga yoga.
Here's one. Was the NDE the sole cause of you transitioning from the criminal mentality to that of activity and healing? Was that purely due to your
No,
NDE?
no. My NDE, I first thought I had a psychiatric break. I didn't know what an NDE was. I just thought I had lost my mind. Definitely created a shift in me. I think the most of the transformation happened when I became sharing my yoga practice, started to teach yoga. I would come into a room that was quite full in a health center. And when I would leave, all those people that were there would think, oh, that's a nice young man. And their intention began to become my reality as they held this belief about me, that I was this nice young yoga teacher, not so young anymore, but I think their intention affected my reality and making it much easier for me to make this transition in my life. I think, yeah, that's what I would say.
Did you start this yoga practice while you were still incarcerated after your NDE, or so you just still had a kind of, you had the NDE, you were in the hospital, you went back to jail, and then you started changing your life immediately?
I started to lay in the sun and exercise because I was super sick, and I knew from my mom teaching me about endorphins and about the body and the brain. My brother was brain injured, so we talked about the brain a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that these things would right away start to help me feel better and start to like recover myself. Um, and synchronicity, there was some synchronicity right away that kind of excited me about life again a bit. And yeah, and then the people holding good beliefs about me around me instead of the opposite. Where I grew up, I was up to no good. So when I would walk around and see people, they had the belief that I was up to no good, and it made it really easy for me to be up to no good.
Right.
When I was in this new vibration where I was surrounded by people that saw the best in me, they brought out the best in me.
They probably sounded like they helped you create that limiting belief that you were up to no good. If they were telling you
Yeah,
that, and then you just started to tell yourself that, yeah?
I actually have to kind of give an apology here. When we talked last time, I said that my stepdad used to say to me that I'm just like my dad, and then that manifested and unfolded with both of us going to prison twice in our lives and being
Mm.
recidivists, which is like a tiny percent of the world's population. But I sat with it, and it was actually my mom, my sweet, sweet mom used to say that to me.
Oh,
You're
wow.
just like your dad when she was having a bad day. And that kind
Interesting.
of became a reality. I did. She was exactly right about me.
Well, do you
Until
think that was,
yeah,
do you think that she may have not really wanted you to do that, but do you think that was programming you?
I can't blame her. She's wonderful, but I do have experience of looking back and sitting in meditation at my life and realizing that the first 30 years I unfolded what everyone believed about me and told me about myself.
Hmm.
It was my mental projection, the ego when we're quite young, especially before 25, and the myelin sheath is fully created on our brain. We're super impressionable. And if somebody we love or trust has something flippant about us, like I said earlier, Jeff, you're too tall, you're too short, you're too loud, you're too fat, you're just like your dad. The human brain, this incredible trillions or whatever billions of neural pathways will create that reality based on that repetition of that inner voice that's saying whatever that self-limiting belief is. And yeah, that happened to me. And then I had this break from my inner voice. So to some extent, I knew that it wasn't who I was anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just my thoughts. I knew that I was something beyond that. So it kind of was like, okay, inner voice, we got to make friends or this is going to be a bumpy ride. And through synchronicity, somebody gave me a yoga mat in prison, the same guy who taught me how to meditate.
Wow.
He called himself an ABC, which was an Aboriginal Buddhist Christian, which
Hmm.
means he went to the T for the Christians, the T for the Buddhas, and the T for the Aboriginals. And he gave me a yoga mat. He taught me to meditate. The yoga mat led to a passion. First fixing my body because I'd broken so many bones in the stupidity of addiction and the being lost in addiction had really injured my body too, yeah, in a lot of ways. So the practice also helped me to gain back flexibility and strength and balance.
Um, do you believe in writing pre-birth contracts? And if so, do you know what yours is and what your mission is here on the planet?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're timeless at some point and we get bored of it. It's just too perfect. So we created self-consciousness and time. And when we come here, it's the depth of the self-conscious experience, the more self-conscious and like you heard, like, yeah, we make these soul contracts. We come here to suffer together. And I think mine is with my brother Richie. My brother Richie, when we were very young, was hit by a truck. I was in 6 or 7. I think he was in grade 6 or, yeah, very young. And he's suffering. He's in a chair. He had a miraculous recovery, but went back to started some habits that set him back again. Habits that I also took on myself for many years. And we paid a big karmic debt. That debt of his accident changed the trajectory of our lives. And while it caused me this inner victim monologue and some trauma that I had to deal with, it also gave me the superpower of knowledge around brain health, how to create this neuroregenesis. If I didn't know that, my heroin addicted brain never would have made a comeback. So we have a soul contract for sure around suffering, my brother and I, my dad and I. Yeah, until I could find the forgiveness and peace around that, it haunted me as I would act like him subconsciously in low energy moments.
Hmm. All right, here's another
Yeah.
question. Thinking about all the books that you have read, which one helped you with your awakening?
Yeah, it's a toss up actually, but I'm gonna give it to James Redfield. Celestine Prophecy. It came to me when I was in addiction, trying to break addiction. And it came back to me in a low energy point when I was on parole and thinking of making some poor decisions. It came back to me again and spurred synchronicity in my life. And since then, I've read the books over and over, given about 50 copies of the Celestine Prophecies away that I find at secondhand stores. And I practiced the experiential guides as well as read the books. So I think the Celestine Prophecy is a great teacher. But the book that has helped me to grow the most from dependence, being a 30-year-old dependent on the prison system, to interdependence, where I exist now working on teams, was the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, that book is
Stephen Covey,
going to be
right?
a spiritual text one day.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I teach it to people that I work with out off the yoga mat. It is like even my daughter too. It is, we have that 7 habits out. We have the book with sitting upstairs out. And often we'll visit at the beginning of the day to ensure that we're moving into the day in an independent way and that we're open for interdependence, ability to work with teams.
If we go back to the Celestine prophecy, what can you give us a couple of the most important points that the book makes?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Synchronicity is everywhere. It's happening around us at every minute. We have to, it teaches us how to tune into it. Each insight teaches us a new way to tune into what's going on around us through luminosity, through looking for things that are shiny, to sitting in stillness and just observing how we feel. So there are ways to tune into the synchronicity around us. We talked about this last time, Jeff. The ego mind's looking for problems. It's trying to keep us alive in like as we go through our day. But our soul needs to connect, is looking for the synchronicities, the things that are beyond coincidence. And yeah, if we can connect to the, yeah, we can get into that synchronistic state. Miracles have happened, or has been my experience.
Hmm. Why do you think so many people don't believe in synchronicity? They just consider it a coincidence.
I think for me, I didn't document them. I wouldn't write them down. I didn't have any practice of putting it down anywhere. So when I fell into those troughs, those challenges and lessons in the third dimension, yeah, I would open my book and I would look to the synchronicities that I wrote down. In the program I teach, you document synchronicities in the back of your journal. And also, if we revisit our life as a whole, I call it a lifeline, we can also see there's probably a series of synchronicities that have already happened that are pushing us in a direction. Sometimes it's like me, the synchronicities were really painful. Like my brother's car accident pushed me towards teaching people about mushrooms and brain health and yoga. And like hurting my hip got me onto a yoga mat. And sometimes it's, yeah, it's just hard to recognize the synchronicity and very easy to get caught in the inner monologue of victim.
All right, here's another question. How long did it take for you to permanently shift to yoga and leave your addictions? Realistically.
My addictions did some shifting, I would say, about 7 or 8 years ago. I think the hungry ghost idea is pretty on point of Buddhism, that we all have a hungry ghost inside of us. My friend calls it a God-shaped vacuum, that we put shopping or like distraction or different things into this. Yeah, about 6 or 8 years ago, I think I really leaned into my spiritual practice. Um, and yeah, had some big shifts. Can you repeat the question for me, Jeff, please?
It said, how long did it take for you to permanently shift to yoga and leave your addictions realistically?
Realistically, how long did it
So
take
it's
me to
is it
shift from
something
my
that took you years? Did you do it overnight?
I
What
still got a hungry
honestly
ghost
real.
inside of me, and my hungry ghost just likes covered food at night and chocolate.
Mm-hmm,
I've dealt in a lot of harm reduction. I found habits that are aligned with my passion to fill my time.
mm-hmm.
Um, and I would say it is an ongoing process. I don't think anyone is free of attachment or aversion. I don't think anyone gets into this ride without wanting something in an unhealthy amount.
Do you
Of
think
course, we had, yeah,
Do you think that like the what do they call that? What is that? The what step? With
12
alcoholics, the
steps.
12 step. I think through them, for people like at Alcoholics Anonymous, they always say they're an alcoholic, so they have to admit that they're always an addict. That's, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Would you agree with that? Like because it kind of sounds like what you're saying. You never get rid of your addiction. You have to admit it and just resist it or something.
Yeah, I think the number is like 15% of people have addiction that they suffer. For me, it's circular thinking. My brain will get onto things and really get onto things. But I've been able to shift that energy now to more positive things. So I still have the same brain that works in that same similar way. But now I've just directed it towards my passions, things that are in alignment with my goals. Because if we repeat a behavior that's not in alignment with our goals, it's an addiction, right? It's throwing us off our path. But if we repeat a behavior that is in alignment with our goals, we got a passion. Because I thought I was addicted to yoga at first. I was going so much because it was really working for me going to these yoga classes. But then I realized that it's actually in alignment with everything I want to be, these goals I have. So it's a passion, not an addiction. And
Hmm.
I think, yeah, if someone wants to be a great plumber with their life and they go to yoga every day, they could have a yoga addiction.
Right.
um, yeah, so without these goals, it's kind of hard to tell the difference between the activities, the passion, and the addiction. And I think I just turned my addictions to passions.
Have you ever considered creating some kind of program to bring to prisons to help change the people in prison?
Yeah, I've applied for one thing online once. I was kind of reminded the fact that it's they don't really want, yeah, it seems like a hard thing to sell. When my thing when I was younger, when I did my life review, my grandpa's kind of stopped at a point. Now stop's not the right word when you're timeless, but they stopped at a point where I was in this group of fellas that were doing all natural bodybuilding. And they had asked me to leave the team because I was selling drugs and I was selling marijuana. So they didn't want me to be on part of this team. And yeah, so I was, can you read me the question again, Jeff, please?
What I was saying was, have you ever considered creating some sort of program to bring to the prisons to help people there?
Yeah, so the I kind of missed a part of my life where I was going to work with like younger people than prisoners. And I thought I wouldn't be able to do that, but that keeps manifesting for me. I keep getting these opportunity instead of to talk to the guys that are hard, and then I got to be hard and tough with them, to talk to the younger souls
To get
that are
them
maybe still a little more open.
right.
So my path has a lot to do with working with people that are younger instead of the inmate population. It's
Yeah.
hard to get back into the prison when you've been to prison.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense to reach out to people before they get there.
Yeah.
All right, I got one last question for you here. Did seeing your brother cause your codependency or addiction? I guess seeing your brother's tragedy.
Seeing my brother caused my codependency or addiction. Um, my mom used to tell me, be careful. Our family has addiction, and tell me about her brothers and my grandpa. So I
Hmm.
think her words had something to do with it, believing that. I think I was in a bit of a traumatic womb. My dad kidnapped my brother when my mom was pregnant with me and took him to Arizona for
Hmm.
3 months. So I think the womb environment for me was quite traumatic. So that might have had something to do with the way that my brain is wired. Um, I think another trauma along the way, my other brother tried to commit suicide and shot himself in our basement a few years later. I think that played a big role in the wiring of my young, fragile, my young, influenceable brain. Um, so yeah, I think they were my, if my use my ego and I go back and remember them, they were all traumatic. But if I go back with my spiritual voice, they actually all gave me superpowers. All these what looks like trauma. The jail gave me patience.
Hmm.
My brother's car accident gave me knowledge. My other brothers gave me strength. So I think because we have this inner duality of soul and ego, the ego will remember the trauma. The spirit remembers the strength that we were given.
All right. Once again, what is your website? Well, your website was on that bottle. What's your website? And if people want to reach out to you and ask you questions, should they hook up with you at your website or on a YouTube channel or where?
I think my website's a great place to go first. because it has my email address on there, and I think email is a great way to start a conversation with me if it's of spiritual nature. After our last show, Jeff, 15 or 20 people reached out right away, and
Wow.
I had some of the best conversations of my life. People that were really interested in making some profound change. Some have decided to work with me. Some are, and so many great aspects. Everyone's really excited about the microdosing and the mushrooms and to have a guide. So I'm so grateful for our time together, as people have reached out to me through email mostly. A few people have texted or called me, which was okay. I've been invited on a cool podcast called the Laughing Lotus with one of your viewers that loves you.
Oh, wow. I
He
had no
definitely
idea, but
has,
that's great.
you inspired his journey. He is
Awesome.
taking this on as well, and we had a great conversation. So email is really best through the website. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, Devon Bennett. I answer my Facebook Messenger.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Do you have anything else that you want people to know about? Well, I guess I kind of asked you that earlier, I think, but you're having this thing coming up next week in somewhere in the
Ceremony, we're going to
islands.
aim for Canada Day, July 1st ceremony, mushroom ceremony. And then August 11th to 16th, Livingston, Guatemala. There's Brother V wants to have like-minded humans who might want to be part of a conscious community. There's two ways you can get in. You can invest financially, or you can bring your gifts and your energy.
There you go.
So we're looking to use synchronicity to attract this community that will have the goals of unity and quality, and the goals of building humans up, looking for the best in people to find the best in people. And that's getting me really excited.
Cool. Well, before we finish up, can you leave us again with another positive message?
Another positive message.
Got you last time. I'm asking you for one more.
One more, absolutely. Blessed are the children of a loving creator. We exist in a vibrational, multidimensional reality that's based on our ability to love ourselves for our uniqueness. And if we learn to sit and write these North Star, these dreams, what will happen is that the soul will have some spiritual oxygen to come out of the pen, some space. And through this practice of journaling, we can remind ourselves who we are. And when we do, we realize that we are floating in a sea of love. It just wants us to love ourselves and wants us to learn to love our life and hold this vibration of love and gratitude. So I like to say the only constant is change. Everything is changing. And sometimes all we need is a little direction. We just need a little assistance, and we can really begin to create positive change in our life with just a little direction. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Devon. Thank you for that message, and thanks for coming on a second time and sharing with us. I really appreciate you.
You're very welcome. I appreciate you too. Namaste, Jeff.
All right, brother. Take care and have a great rest of your weekend.
Bye, everyone. Love you.
Bye-bye.
Have a
We love
blessed
you.
evening. Happy Saturday.
Bye-bye.
Look forward to hearing from some of you.
All right, there was Devon. Let's give him a big round of applause. So we got right to it today, and I didn't even give you, I didn't even tell you what's going on for the week. Tomorrow's guest is a near-death experiencer from Australia, and his face, I think, smashed into the steering wheel or the dashboard. Turn this down just a little bit. And I think he's got he's got like 40 pieces of metal in his face, but you'd never know. He's a handsome guy. But what he does show is that he shaves his head, and what you can see, let me kind of move this out of the way real quick. what you can see is this scar from here all the way around his head. And I think they literally like peeled his face off to fix the bones in his face and pull him back together. But we had an amazing talk, and I think it was a great conversation. It was fascinating, and I think you guys will really enjoy his NDE tomorrow. So that's coming up for you guys tomorrow. On Monday, I have another NDE for you. And I think he's a pretty famous, he's been around a long time. His name's Wayne Morrison, and I'm trying to remember, how did he have his NDE? But one of the things was that he went to other planets. So we talked about that. I have a Russian woman on Monday that I think she's living in Turkey. A Russian woman living in Turkey that had an NDE. Let's see what's coming up. Someone about angels. Another woman about spirituality. Famous, well, I don't know if he's famous, but I guess somewhat famous author. We're talking about what's going on the moon. And then next Saturday is going to be huge. Nikki Allen, Britain's best psychic, is going to be on the live program next Saturday night. And she is a lot of fun. And she's going to be here with Danny Henderson, and she's a lot of fun. So it's like two amazing women that are both a lot of fun. So it's probably going to be like kind of crazy. So I hope you guys will enjoy that one and tune in, because I think you're really going to like that. And I guess that's it so far. What's what we got scheduled for coming up. By the way, if you look in our down below, you can see links to the Discord. If you want to join the Discord, it's free. You just have to email me to get the code to get in. And if you don't know what Discord is, that's something like Facebook or whatever, but it's a little bit different. There's also links to our Facebook page, my personal Facebook page. You'll see my last name's Reynolds if you're new here and you haven't figured it out. Mara is my wife. That's not my last name. And Luke said food videos. Yeah, there's a video, there's our food video channel, there's our music channel, there's our merch store. Yeah, he's telling we need to I said I was going to put out one cooking video a week, and I haven't been living up to it. But I'm trying to get back to it. We just had a lot of other things going on that have been eating up our time, but hopefully that will be finished soon and we'll get back to it. I was thinking about, I don't know if you guys have seen this. There's a couple cool things I wanted to talk about. I was telling my wife this today. One thing is, I had thought about this a while ago. I don't know if you guys like boba tea, but I made the little boba, and I thought about, if you've seen my cooking channel, I make my own coffee frappuccinos at home, which are delicious. And maybe I'll make another one putting boba in there, the bubble teas, but making a bubble coffee. So that might be something I might make pretty soon. Also, with some of my UFO guests, we talk about that it seems like that there are, the sci-fi movies are slowly, dripping in disclosure, soft disclosure. And I haven't finished watching this yet, but I've been watching, I guess it's a new J-Lo movie on Netflix. And it's about her battling these AI robots that went rogue, and she's resisting linking up her brain with the AI robot to fight the other robots. And I'm wondering if, and you have Elon Musk working on Neuralink, so I wonder if that's the next thing in our evolution, or something that's, being a new soft disclosure for humanity is to hook up our brains with computers. I wonder what you guys think about it. Anyways, it's a pretty cool movie. Like I said, I haven't finished it. It's on Netflix. It's called Atlas. That's J-Lo's, that's her character name on there. And Mika, let's have Mika say hello to everybody before we... Come here, Mika. Mika sleeps on the floor right next to me. So she was hanging out on the floor, asleep. I woke her up. She had to wake up and come tell everybody hello. See, she's yawning. She's waking up. But she's here with us. She used to sleep closer to the window, but now that it's getting hot here, she kind of sleeps away from the window and kind of almost like down to the next to me. If you haven't seen if you haven't seen that video, I did put a video up about showing our podcast room. And the window's behind me, and so we have the green screen. She'd be back there. But now she's down here. Oh. So she just woke up. See, maybe she's still sleepy. Maybe I should just hold her here one time. Maybe I don't know if she would fall asleep or not if I was just here. Maybe she'd fall asleep. Maybe I'll try that one time if I can put her to sleep while I'm talking. So there she is. All right, guys. Well, thank you all so much for watching our videos, coming to the live stream. We really appreciate you more than you realize. We are grateful for you. So thank you. Have a great rest of your weekend. God bless you all.